History was made on today's date. Stay tuned for an American Minute with Bill Federer.
On this day, November 1st, 1800, John Adams became the first U.S. president to move into the White House. The following day, he wrote a letter to his wife, Abigail, in which he composed a beautiful prayer. A portion of that prayer was inscribed on the mantelpiece in the state dining room by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It reads, "I pray heaven to bestow the best of blessings on this house and all that shall hereafter inhabit it." President Adams ended his prayer with the words, "May none but honest and wise men ever rule under this roof."
This has been an American Minute with Bill Federer. For a free transcript, call American Minute at 1-888-USA-WORD.
VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at VCYAmerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And we do thank you for joining us today for News Roundup Friday today. Many issues, many stories, events taking place, happenings around this country, around the world as well. We'll seek to comment on as much as we can. Our thanks to Sandy for compiling so many stories and gathering information and news this week. Grateful for Molly here on the phones. Grateful for Justin in the control room here today, and for our team at VCY America. Friends, certainly important times that we are living in right now, and I trust you are taking time to pray. Pray for this nation. Be praying for the election on Tuesday. Matter of fact, just right after the program today, I'll be heading toward Portage, Wisconsin to participate and meet with a group of people with Child Evangelism Fellowship on the importance of reaching children with the gospel message, and then heading over to Trail Ridge Camp for a day of prayer tomorrow, and spending meaningful time in prayer with a group of individuals who have registered to be there, and looking forward to that time. But friends, no matter where you are across this country, please take time to pray. Pray as a church as it relates to our country, our need for national repentance, certainly, and certainly for God to have his hand on the election coming up on Tuesday. As we take a look at the news stories here, according to the Washington Stand, nearly 62 million Americans have already cast a ballot by early afternoon yesterday. That's according to the University of Florida Election Lab. With 5 days left until Election Day 2024, early voting in person and by mail has already surpassed the early vote totals from 2012 and the 2016 elections. Might even approach surpassing the share of early votes cast in 2020. If you have opportunity to get your vote in, even prior to Tuesday, take advantage of the moment. There is certainly going to be some bad weather in certain parts of the country. There are going to be those things that will deter you one way or another. Please be sure to get your vote in. Looking at WND.com, a Democratic operative is on video explaining the process for influencing the results of an election. He said, so think about it like this. If we're going to steal an election, let's say Georgia is a perfect example. If you're going to steal an election here, you're not going to go to outside of a Democratic Party, right? They're not going to go outside of Atlanta or outside of Metro Atlanta and change the numbers in Republican counties, right? Because that, and then uses an expletive that would be too obvious, change the numbers in your own county. You're going to fluctuate these numbers because it will just look the same. It's a video that's been released by Steve Crowder, features the comments of Joel Caldwell, Director of Operations for the Coalition for the People's Agenda in Georgia. He noted the comments caught on tape, including statements about potentially illegal ballot harvesting schemes used to rig American elections. His comments appear to suggest fraud happened in Georgia, even with the alleged water main break and causing the stopping of ballots to be counted. People go back to their cars. Well, guess what? They started those counts back up again. So much to do there in Georgia, but very interesting if you get opportunity to search for that. At WND.com had that article, and the watching the video there, very, very disconcerting as it relates to election fraud. From Just the News, GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump's campaign sent a letter to the Colorado Secretary of State's office requesting that it bolster election security. Earlier this week, the Colorado Secretary of State's office announced that the voting system's passwords were accidentally posted online. Accidentally posting the passwords, folks. The Secretary of State must immediately identify the counties affected by the security breach. He said, the Trump campaign said, notify them, direct them to halt processing of all mail ballots, and prepare to rescan all ballots. Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold said that her office is investigating and workers are changing passwords. Okay, also from Just the News, a federal appeals court last Friday ruled that the Mississippi's election law that allows mail ballots to come in up to 5 days after Election Day is illegal because voters need to cast their ballots by Election Day. Missouri is one of 18 states that lets mail-in ballots come in after Election Day if they're postmarked by November 5th, per The Hill. The three-judge panel said Congress and federal law designate a single deadline for elections, and that day is a day that votes must be cast and received by election officials. Circuit Judge Andrew Oldman wrote for the panel, quote, federal law does not permit the state of Mississippi to extend the period for voting by 1 day, 5 days, or 100 days. The state's contrary law is preempted. From townhall.com, someone in the control room at a local ABC affiliate messed up massively. WNEP-TV in Scranton area, Pennsylvania, was airing the Formula One race when viewers noticed that Kamala Harris had won Pennsylvania by 5 points. The incident occurred on October 27th as the network was broadcasting the Formula One race. They said it was a test for election night. From townhall.com, many Pennsylvania voters are reporting that they still have not received their mail-in ballots days away from the 24 election. Pennsylvania Secretary of State Al Schmidt, who oversees election administration statewide, was informed that dozens of voters in Adams County had applied for a mail-in ballot but did not get one. This is consistently a Republican county. Another reliable county, which is Mifflin County, and pro-Trump stronghold that is. There's chatter among voters and community forums about the absence of mail-in ballots that have yet to arrive on their doorstep. So that begs the question, where do the ballots go? York, which is a Republican majority county, reportedly sent out at least 421 mail-in ballots to the incorrect postal addresses. Election hawks, however, suspect that this number is more likely in the thousands. Then in Erie County, another toss-up area, hundreds of frustrated voters lined up outside the county's elections office this week after anxiously awaiting the arrival of their mail-in ballots that never came, despite ordering them almost a month ago. The Geller report indicates that election officials are pushing people out of line in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, telling them to come back later. There's been lines like this for days across counties in Pennsylvania, only for election officials to come out and push people out of line and tell them to come back, said James Blair, political director of the Trump campaign. Blair also said that there are Democrats in Bucks County running around with badges on, intimidating voters while pretending like they are election officials. Geller also reports that a lawsuit was filed when Democrats posing as election officials shut down the election line. The Trump campaign filed a voter suppression lawsuit in Pennsylvania and won. James Blair just announced that they had just won the lawsuit in Bucks County for extended early voting through Friday at 5 p.m. Also very interesting, a glitch exists in some types of Dominion voting machines. Voters who use a Dominion ICX voter assist terminal will experience an issue if they want to vote for candidates of both parties, said Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. A voter assist terminal helps people with disabilities cast their ballots. Yes, this is a nationwide issue with Dominion voters, voter access terminals in the counties that use them, and the voter access terminals, Benson said. We've got a audio clip here that we'd like to play for you from the Michigan Secretary of State.
Issues with the programming of the VATS with specifically
Yes.
from Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
Why was that only caught in the past few days, and why can't it be fixed? I saw the release with the
Yeah, this is a nationwide issue with Dominion voter access terminals in the counties that use them. And the voter access terminals, of course, not all the machines, just the ones that are accessible, have an issue with the straight party voting and a programming issue that's, again, affected the machines nationwide. And I think all of us that use Dominion machines were unhappy to learn about this during the testing period and as early voting began. So we're working with Dominion to seek accountability on that front, and also are working with our clerks to ensure voters are aware of this programming issue that will require them to ensure they are voting every section on the ballot.
Do you think it's a bigger issue in Michigan because we do allow voters to cross over in ways that a lot of other states don't?
Because we have straight party, it's not struck me as I've talked to my other colleagues in other states. They're just as upset about it as we are. So, yeah, or surprised, I think.
Yeah, they're upset about just as we are. When are we going to get this right, folks? When are we going to get this right? This matter of technology. You know, we didn't seem to have this problem years ago when you just had to cast a paper ballot. And yet we are seeing this, and even after 4 years ago, all the controversy taking place. And this is a Democrat Secretary of State from Michigan talking about this deficiency in the Dominion system. From townhall.com, Monday's ruling from the Nevada Supreme Court on accepting mail-in ballots without a postmark and after the election strikes a devastating blow to election integrity for years to come, they report, Rebecca Downs, by removing the necessity for any proof that a ballot has passed through the Postal Service and thereby negating a critical ballot security measure. The Nevada Supreme Court has opened wide doors to rampant ballot fraud. How can you accept them without a postmark? What prevents somebody from just bringing in trays of ballots saying, oh, these were at the post office. They don't have postmarks to them. How do we know that they are valid? The Daily Caller is reporting machines in Nevada County, California encountered a printing error last week, and officials are unaware of just how many of the 77,000 ballots were potentially compromised. Election officials contacted the California Secretary of State's office upon discovering that their machines were not reading every ballot appropriately, according to CBS. The printing service said the issue was an overspray of the ink on certain barcodes. Some of the ballots, if you look really closely and use a magnifying glass, you will see that there is imperfections in the barcode, said Nevada County Clerk Recorder Natalie Adana. We will use a report and say, okay, which pages did not go through? We'll pull those out, and then we'll mark them as to be rescanned, and then we'll rescan them with a piece of paper where the barcode is very clear. Doesn't that just give you nice, warm, fuzzy feeling and confidence in the integrity of the system? From Just the News and the Center Square, voter confidence has been shaken with voting machines malfunctioning in several Illinois jurisdictions. In McLean County, 34 ballots placed in what the county clerk, Kathy Michael, called an emergency bin, which is located underneath the voting machine used to tabulate ballots. At the Eastland Mall, an early voting location, the machine glitched for 30 minutes. Wayne Henricks called the clerk's office after putting his ballot in the bin, was connected with the assistant county clerk. She indicated that the ballots in the emergency bin are considered mail-in ballots and will be counted on Election Day rather than being counted early, said Henricks. McLean County Elections Director Mark Sanger said any ballots placed in the emergency bin will be tabulated after the early voting sites close. He said the ballots were tabulated after they closed on Tuesday, October 22nd. Wow. And then CBN News reporting U.S. Supreme Court ruled Wednesday that the state of Virginia is allowed to resume its purge of non-citizen voter registrations. The state has said that its goal is to ensure that people who are not U.S. citizens do not vote illegally. We'll be back in 1 minute. A News Roundup Friday here on Crosstalk.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, scientist with the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, how can some lizards walk and even hang upside down on very smooth surfaces?
Chris, this is an amazing feat. Consider the gecko, which can stick to almost any surface, even a polished pane of glass. It attaches itself by tiny hairs on its feet, which are so tiny they're packed at about 500 per square inch. Each hair exerts a tiny chemical force which is attracted to the glass surface, and together they support the weight of the lizard. By curling and uncurling the toes, the lizards can break this bond and move on and take another step. You know, often engineers notice an ability in animals and attempt to mimic it in engineering design. And that's what they're trying to do in this case. Maybe by modeling the gecko lizard, we can even have Spider-Man clinging to smooth surfaces. Such things are possible if you go back to Genesis for your starting point.
Thanks for joining us for Back to Genesis.
It's a News Roundup Friday here on Crosstalk today, and covering a lot of stories, but a lot of this certainly election-related as we approach our Election Day on Tuesday. And friends, again, I encourage you to be sure you cast your ballot here for Tuesday's election. I sincerely believe it's a stewardship that we have. We are entrusted with that vote, and you have an opportunity to cast that vote here on certainly the values that you hold dear. And again, make your list of values on one side of the sheet of paper, and then list candidate A, their values, candidate B, and which one is going to most closely represent your values, or which one do you want to see whose values that you just absolutely cannot accept, and to prayerfully consider your vote in that regard. This from Just the News. America First Legal won its lawsuit against Arizona Secretary of State Adrian Fontes on Thursday over 218,000 voters who were incorrectly registered as providing proof of U.S. citizenship. This is the Superior Court of Arizona in Maricopa County ruled yesterday that Fontes must provide the list of more than 218,000 voters who did not provide proof of U.S. citizenship by Monday. Defendant shall release to plaintiff no more than by noon on Monday, November 4th, the original list of approximately 98,000 affected voters as specifically identified in Richer v. Fontes. AFL Legal Senior Counsel James Rogers said a majority of Arizonans no longer trust the election system of our state. Looking at the Epoch Times, Michigan officials have charged a non-U.S. citizen Chinese student for casting an illegal vote at an early voting site in Ann Arbor on October 27th. Only U.S. citizens can register and vote in our elections. Illegal to lie on any registration form or voting application about one's citizenship status. Doing so is a felony, said the offices of Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. From the National Review, investigators found incendiary devices adorned with the message "Free Gaza" at the sites of two ballot boxes that were set on fire in Oregon and Washington on Monday, suggesting that the arsons may have been committed by an anti-Israel protester. Both fires started early Monday morning between 3 and 4 a.m. in Portland, Oregon, and Vancouver, Washington. These devices were the source of the fires. A device with the Free Gaza message was found at a third ballot box in Vancouver on October 8th. The object also displayed the words "Free Palestine." That drop box was not compromised. From Just the News, police in Portland have released new details about the suspect. This would be the Southeast Portland and Vancouver, Washington. Caucasian male, 30 to 40 years of age. Had other descriptions as well, but knowledgeable in both metal fabrication and welding. And in Vancouver, similar fire suppression inside a box failed. Some 488 ballots were damaged. Clark County elections officials said Wednesday that 345 voters have already contacted the elections office to request a replacement ballot. 6 ballots were unidentifiable, and the election staff are working to identify other voters whose ballots may have been damaged or destroyed. Washington Times tells us 4 states and the District of Columbia have ballot initiatives to enact ranked choice voting Rather than keeping the standard plurality system in top-line elections, voters would be asked to rank candidates, and those rankings would determine a winner if nobody captures a majority. From the Epoch Times, Republican Vice President candidate J.D. Vance said on October 31st that his phone was hacked by Chinese entities. Vance said, "I don't think that they really got anything. We'll find out." Apparently, they couldn't get the encrypted messages that were sent. Confirmation was made less than a week after the FBI and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency published a joint statement acknowledging an investigation into the unauthorized access to commercial telecommunications infrastructure. Well, Michelle Obama had some interesting comments, taking her brand of divisive empowerment to a new low as she addressed women, urging them to see themselves as more than baby-making vessels. This being reported by this dissenter. But she suggested that they vote in favor of abortion rights, even if it means concealing those votes hidden from their husbands. Let's see this clip here from Michelle Obama.
We have to use our voices to make these choices clear to the men that we love. Our lives are worth more than their anger and disappointment. And we are more than just baby-making vessels. And if you are a woman who lives in a household of men that don't listen to you or value your opinion, just remember that your vote is a private matter. Regardless of the political views of your partner, you get to choose. You get to use your judgment and cast your vote for yourself and the women in your life. Remember, women, standing up for what is best for us can make the difference in this election.
Very interesting comments indeed, and we'll be talking more about abortion here in just a moment. But taking a place here, Michelle Obama speaking at a rally. From Breitbart, an investigation has revealed that the Kamala Harris presidential campaign is deceptively manipulating the community notes feature on Elon Musk's X platform to censor criticism and spread election disinformation. The Federalist reports that the Kamala Harris presidential campaign has been caught red-handed. One specific goal of the campaign, as stated by a user on the Discord server, is to get volunteers to swarm X and block the community notes that they don't like. The Harris Walls Discord server also has a Twitter X community notes training module that teaches users how to quickly increase their ratings impact to write their own community notes with a high enough status. Well, from redstate.com, when it rains, it pours. The Teamsters Union declined, we know, to endorse Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. But the stunner was soon followed by the Firefighters Union, taking the same stance, followed by the investment guru Warren Buffett and the two far-left journalism outlets, the Los Angeles Times and Washington Post, said they will not cast a endorsement. Then on Monday, the Gannett-owned USA Today announced that they are not publicly backing the vice president either. Israel National News reporting the Washington Post is facing a significant wave of digital subscription cancellations and resignations from several column writers, stemming from the owner, Jeff Bezos' decision to prevent the paper from endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. By midday on Monday, over 200,000 subscribers had canceled their digital subscriptions, they report. The figure accounts for about 8% of the Post's paid readership of 2.5 million, including print subscribers. From Breitbart, Vice President Kamala Harris received the most slanted TV coverage in history, a study by Newsbusters found on Monday. The biased coverage provides a reason why Americans' trust in the establishment media to report current events fully, accurately, and fairly has plummeted to a record low in 2024. 78% of television coverage of Harris was positive since July, while television coverage of former President Trump, 85% negative, Newsbusters has reported. This is a very interesting story from CBN.com. With the presidential election right around the corner, witches are trying to cast spells against Donald Trump but this time that they reportedly are frustrated that their spells are not working. The Toronto Star reports on one example in which a group of roughly 100 witches has been gathering by Zoom to attack Trump in the spirit realm. Armed with orange candles, tarot cards, and a not-so-flattering photo of the former president, they cast a spell to block his return to the White House. The final words of their synchronized ritual, "You're fired," echo as his image burns to the ground, the Star reports. This group is led by a woman with 25,000 subscribers on her mailing list. She has invited all of them to join her in hexing Trump before the election. But other news outlets are reporting that some witches are publicly bemoaning the failures of their spells against Trump. An ABC News outlet in Alabama reports one witch wrote on its Reddit forum that their spells won't work like before, because saying she believes it's because many people are praying. Therefore, he has a shield, a flimsy one, of course, she says, but a shield nonetheless. I'm trying to figure out a way to create spells that can bypass that, but it's difficult, the witch reportedly wrote. Another posted this: "I hate to say this, but don't do magic against him. He has a form of protection surrounding him that feeds off of magic done against him. You'll have better results if you focus your magic on helping his opponent or protecting yourself and others." Also writing on the Witches versus Patriarch thread on Reddit, another witch agreed that something appears to be protecting Trump from their spells. Some other witches have mentioned that doing spells directly against Trump are not as effective as we might hope, as he seems to have some kind of protection around him, she complains. Friends, if you doubt that there's a spiritual battle going on, guess again. From Just the News, prominent Democratic and progressive fundraising platform ActBlue has faced accusations of lax security, potential donor fraud, and has been the subject of a last-minute congressional probe. The House Oversight Committee formally subpoenaed ActBlue for the records related to the hundreds of suspicious activity reports generated by the Treasury Department's anti-money laundering system related to the platform, demanding that the massive fundraising platform turn over records on how it confirms donors' identities and endures no fraud or money laundering occurs with contributions going to Democratic candidates and other groups, specifically from foreign adversary countries like Iran, Russia, Venezuela, and China. Earlier this month, a state-level probe into ActBlue expanded to include 19 state attorney general. We also have here from the Daily Wire, The Atlantic's Trump Loves Hitler hit piece hit a snag as several people who worked alongside and for retired Marine General John Kelly have come out to publicly dispute his claims. In the article that was published on Tuesday, Kelly was quoted as saying that Trump had often praised the German generals, and when he was asked to clarify, had told Kelly he wanted the kind of generals that Hitler had. Kelly also claimed that Trump had praised Hitler for doing some good things. But according to a few who worked either alongside or for Kelly himself in the Trump White House, who was at the time serving as chief of staff, the retired general's words appear to be the complaints of a malcontented ex-employee directed at a former boss that he no longer likes. "I worked for John Kelly and don't believe him," said Mercedes Schlapp in a post on X. "His last-ditch effort to stop Donald Trump is desperate. This is a personal vendetta from a staffer who failed at his job and believed as a chief of staff that he should have been the ultimate decision maker." Former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer gave a slightly different perspective, saying that he believed Kelly may have been among the so-called experts who felt as though they'd been unfairly cast aside when Trump didn't simply take their word when deciding policy. Okay, from FoxNews.com, former President Trump suing CBS News $10 billion in damages, stating that the network practiced deceptive conduct for the purpose of election interference in its interview with Vice President Kamala Harris. Trump attorneys said the complaint comes due to CBS's partisan and unlawful acts of election and voter interference through malicious, deceptive, and substantial news distortion calculated to confuse, deceive, and to mislead the public. Trump attorneys also argue that the edits were done in an effort to attempt to tip the scales in favor of the Democratic Party. Friends, we'll have some more stories right after the break. You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America.
The Bible says that life is but a vapor that's here for a short time and then vanishes away. Scripture also says, it's appointed unto man once to die, but after this, the judgment. Have you ever wondered what happens when you die? In the book, What Happens After Life, author Ron Rose provides a survey of the Bible's teachings about the afterlife. He tracks the destiny for those who know Christ as Savior, and the destiny for unbelievers. He addresses numerous topics, such as the immediate state after death, believers and the judgment seat of Christ, unbelievers and the great white throne judgment, the new heavens and a new earth, the new Jerusalem, and so much more. He even tackles the question of what happens to infants, young children, and those mentally disabled as it relates to eternity. What Happens After Life is available for a donation of $15 or more by calling VCY at 1-800-729-9829. 1-800-729-9829.
Thank you for joining us for this News Roundup Friday here on Crosstalk, and encourage you to tell others about Crosstalk each and every day. Lord willing, Jerry Newcomb will be with us on Monday, and we'll be talking about the election and what's at stake in Tuesday's election. We'll also certainly provide you some coverage Tuesday, giving you opportunity to weigh in on current matters. Wednesday, Lord willing, Matt Staver from Liberty Counsel will be with us to comment on election results. All coming your way here on Crosstalk on the VCY American Network. Mention when we get back to this abortion issue, Vice President Kamala Harris held a rally in Houston on Friday, last week Friday, to promote her campaign's obsession on abortion, reports Rebecca Downs. She was also there campaigning for Democratic Representative Allred, who is looking to unseat Ted Cruz in Texas. The event also featured a crowd of abortionists on stage, though they raised some eyebrows with their response to an actual medical emergency. Friends, it is sad. It's comical, but so sad at the same time. Dr. Todd Ivey, the abortionist who's given remarks during this pro-abortion rally, is making claims about women becoming severely ill and dying, which, by the way, is a result of medical malpractice, not the state's pro-life laws. But doctors are permitted to intervene anyways, but all 50 states have laws protecting a woman's life. But it's at the point of the speech that no one can clearly hear people in distress yelling for a medic. But despite how the multiple people on stage are supposed to be doctors, they're standing there all wearing white coats. They're calling for a medic. Even the guy at the microphone calling for medical attention there. They're all just kind of looking around. We're going to play this. You can kind of imagine what's going on here at this rally. But this is abortionists at the Harris rally.
Necessarily becoming ill and dying. Nationwide, I think someone needs some medical assistance over here.
And all these medical people on the stage are just standing there looking at this, wondering what to do here. They're all standing there. Doesn't a medical personnel run to the situation? My, oh my. The chaos that ensued there as a result of that. Someone had sent this, or I saw a clip of this. If you kill a preborn sea turtle, I just did a search here, and it's up to $50,000 in fines. You can serve up to a year in prison if you kill a preborn sea turtle. So that's a sea turtle in an egg, okay? If you kill a preborn bald eagle, first offense, $100,000 and up to a year in prison. A second offense, up to $250,000 and 2 years in prison. If you kill a preborn bald eagle, the egg. If you kill a preborn human being, there's no penalty, and they want to force doctors to perform this. Yes, we played the clip previously of Kamala Harris saying no exemptions. There should be no religious exemptions for this. Go figure, folks. You kill a turtle in an egg or an eagle in an egg, harsh penalties, years in jail, human being, no problem. Daily Signal's reporting President Joe Biden made a very crass reference to supporters of former President Donald Trump, sparking widespread condemnation from Americans. The remarks were intended to rally Latino voters Tuesday. The remarks came following a comedian Tony Hinchcliffe's very controversial joke about Puerto Rico at Trump's event Sunday at Madison Square Garden. But Joe Biden responded to this with his own garbage comment.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
The only garbage I see out there is his supporters, referring to Donald Trump. We understand that the White House has changed the transcript of that. Very disconcerting. Matter of fact, here's the story from the Daily Wire. Biden-Harris administration altered the transcript of Biden's garbage insult, could have broken the law. They altered the official transcript of the Biden remarks earlier this week when he referred to tens of millions of supporters of former President Donald Trump as garbage. The Associated Press reported that the fraudulent alteration of official government records drew objections from the federal workers who document all of the president's remarks for historical reference. Official White House stenographers recorded Biden stating, "The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable and it's un-American." However, Biden-Harris officials altered the quote by adding an apostrophe, changing it to supporters, the one who basically is talking about Puerto Rico instead of supporters, plural. They changed the meaning of this. Matter of fact, Tim Walz was even asked on CBS about the unity message here. Here's what he was questioned on issues like this.
I want to put it into a larger context of your recent comment comparing the Sunday Trump rally to a Nazi rally. And I would also throw in there Obama's bitter clingers, guns and religion comment from a while back, the deplorable line from Hillary Clinton's campaign, and the way that Democrats are seen by some voters as disrespecting them. And I have to ask, does that undercut this closing message of unity from your campaign?
No, certainly not.
No, certainly not. No, certainly not. WorldNetDaily.com, one of the FBI whistleblowers, whose work sparked the investigation into and ultimate convictions of Hunter Biden on gun and tax charges, facing a forced demotion or departure from his job, according to his lawyers, who are charging the government with retaliation. A lawyer for whistleblower Gary Shapley said a letter to his client ordering the job change is just continuing retaliation that began months ago when Shapley was passed over for a promotion. From Breitbart, the Texas Department of Public Safety has arrested members of 262 gangs in the last 2.5 years alone, former acting ICE Director Tom Homan said during an appearance on Breitbart News Daily. Amazing. The Texas DPS has arrested members of 262 different gangs in the last 2.5 years. Also, we have from CBN, while illegal crossings have decreased in Texas, largely due to the state's investment in aggressive border security measures like barbed wire and floating buoys and the National Guard, concerns persist about the broader implications of the Biden administration immigration policy. Tougher border enforcement has led many migrants to reroute to neighboring states like Arizona, New Mexico, and California. And the Biden administration, has also acted with executive orders aimed at streamlining the asylum process and expediting deportations. Biden's border policy is under fire as the app, and Mark Krikorian has talked about this here on Crosstalk. The app paroles 800,000 migrants into the United States. This notorious Venezuelan gang as well that's been found. Very infamous gang. Its associates have now been arrested. There have been over 500 arrested so far of this Venezuelan gang in New York City. That's according to news reports. Also, the Daily Signal telling us that the Biden-Harris administration border crisis has negative implications for all Americans, but one group that suffered more than most but received less attention are American Indians living on reservations right along the border. Very interesting indeed. Want to get a couple other quotes in here, stories here before we take our next break. That is comments that are being made by Elon Musk Elon Musk took the stage at the Saudi Arabia Future Investment Initiative Conference, sharing his bold predictions for the future of autonomous vehicles. But he also had a very interesting prediction pertaining to robots as well. Listen to what he had to say, his prediction here.
Every country will have AIs or multiple AIs. So, and there will be a lot of robots.
There'll be a lot of robots. But we had
way more robots than people.
Yeah, let's have that conversation a second, because people are concerned about, as you said, dwindling populations. AI and robots have the potential to help support the GDP.
Yes.
Congratulations on Optimus 2 and soon Optimus 3. Your prediction on the number of robots by 2040, humanoid robots to be specific, what order of magnitude?
By 2040?
Yeah. So.
I think by if you say like 2040, probably there are more humanoid robots than there are people.
By 2040, expecting more humanoid robots than people. Interesting comment there. By the way, also from the Washington Times, Musk said he thinks that $2 trillion could be eliminated from the federal budget after being introduced as former President Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden. He said all that double spending is taxation, whether it's direct taxation or indirect taxation. Your money is being wasted, and the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that. You know, we had Barbara Loe Fisher on yesterday talking about vaccine hesitancy. And when I saw this story come through today, I found, wow, this is exactly what she was talking about yesterday. The World Health Organization Director General, Tedros Ghebreyesus, declared that the medical establishment must be more aggressive in pushing back on anti-vaxxers, and decried that more than 14 million children in 2022 did not receive a single dose of vaccine. During a recent speech, Ghebreyesus, Dr. Tedros, decried that more than 14 million children did not receive a single dose. And here's the comment that he had to make.
More than 14 million children in 2022 did not receive a single dose of vaccine. Working together with partners like Gavi and UNICEF, we aim to halve that number by 2030. But you know the serious challenge that's posed by anti-vaxxers, and I think we need to strategize to really push back, because vaccines work, vaccines affect adults, and we have science, evidence on our side. I think it's time to be more aggressive in pushing back on anti-vaxxers. I think they use COVID as an opportunity, and, you know, all the havoc they're creating.
All the havoc they're creating. The anti-vaxxers are creating havoc. Isn't that interesting, folks? I wish I had that clip yesterday. Just received it today. Dr. Tedros speaking, and it just validates what Barbara Loe Fisher said yesterday here on Crosstalk. Children's Health Defense saying, according to the CDC, Wednesday recommended 2 COVID-19 boosters during the 2024-25 season for people ages 65 and older, and for younger people who are moderately or severely immunocompromised. The Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices also recommended that such individuals ages 6 months and older take additional doses of the shot, 3 or more, based on shared clinical decision-making between doctor and patient. You know, the vote for all 3 new COVID-19 vaccine recommendations, the vote on that, unanimous. Let's get to this story here, too. Israel, this is from Worthy News. Israel has concluded its most expensive military operation against Iran, Days of Repentance. And we are finding that Iran right now is saying that it appears that it's going to have an imminent strike against Israel. Very well could happen before Election Day. We're up against a break, but friends, let's open our phone lines here today on Crosstalk. If you want to comment on these or other current event stories, our phone number to Crosstalk, 800-733-9829. That's 800-733-9829. Back in a minute here on Crosstalk.
For the Worldview Report, I'm Brandon House. Our website is worldviewtube.com. Ready for some good news? The Institute for Faith and Culture has conducted a survey of what they describe as self-described Christians. Now, some of these are Protestants, meaning the survey results lead you to believe it's more like mainline Christians, some of them not so conservative. Others described as evangelicals and others as Catholics. The good news is that 85% of these self-described Christians say that they are voting in the 2024 presidential election. Like I said, there is some bad news, of which 31% of these self-described Christians believe that Christians should stay out of politics. That's not good, and that's actually not possible. If you vote, you're involved in politics. You stop at a red light, you're involved in the affairs of the city. That's what politics means, the affairs of the cities. And of course, Christians should be involved. But the good news, 85% are going to vote.
A news roundup day here on Crosstalk on VCY America. Our telephone number today is 800-733-9829. That's 800-733-9829. To comment on these or other current event stories, now's your opportunity to weigh in. 800-733-9829. We're going to begin with Bernadine in Milwaukee. Bernadine, you're on the air.
Hi. I just want to make a quick comment. I was watching a religious program where the comment was made that it appeared as though there was some kind of spiritual covering over the people of the United States, that they are not looking at things from a perspective of the right to life. That seems to be a huge focal point, and a lot of people are falling into that propaganda. And all the reports, in addition to what you said about voting, I haven't voted yet. I'm going to, but just listening to that, even though I haven't done my voting yet, it is enough to discourage you into the point of not wanting to vote if you feel that your ballot is not going to be cast correctly for your candidate. But I understand what's going on here, and I just wanted to comment that what we really need to do is to pray, because only God will be the one that will put into office who he is going to allow America to have.
Thank you for your call here. And indeed, God sets up and takes down, but he uses people. He uses you and I in casting our ballots. And certainly you've heard the phrase, this election, too big to rig, to be sure that if you are casting, and so many of these races, Bernadine, are down to the wire across the nation right now, that one should go in and vote as if your vote is being cast as the deciding vote in this election.
Absolutely, with the blessing of the Lord, that he will move it in the manner that he needs to.
Thank you so much for your call.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye now. Our phone number to Crosstalk is 800-733-9829. A few minutes to get your comments in. We have Martha in Oxford, Pennsylvania, and Martha, you're on the air. Hello, Martha. Martha, listen to your... Martha,
yes.
You're on the air.
Yep. I just wanted to remark that most of my mail, and I get a lot of mail, snail mail, most of it comes unpostmarked, no dates. The stamps are just like they were never used. And I have thought that would be a bad thing concerning our elections.
Without postmarks on it, indeed, because anybody can fool that system, can they not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you for your...
I enjoyed the program.
Well, thank you for listening in Pennsylvania. We do appreciate it. A very crucial state that you're living in. And what's the pulse beat? What are you hearing in Pennsylvania right now?
Well, I don't hear much. I don't have TV, and I just listen to this station. And I'm an older woman, and I don't get out a whole lot.
Well, thank you for
so
listening.
I'm not hearing anything much.
Okay. Well, we thank you so much for listening here to Crosstalk. Again, our number here is 800-733-9829 on the broadcast here today. And again, Election Day looming upon us, a very critical time here for our nation. Let's get to the state of Kentucky. Ray, you're on the air.
Yes. I'd just like to talk about that comment that person said about Christians not voting. this is what the Bible says. The Bible says we're in the world, but we're not of the world. We got to live here in this country, and we got to live in this world.
Yeah.
I think every Christian person ought to sit down and count up the cost and look at the situation that our country is in, and we are God's mouthpiece, and we are His arms, we are His legs. We are to stand up for Christ, regardless who, and the church, regardless who it hurts and may and whatever. I just can't figure that out. And are we saying if you don't vote, if you don't vote, you might well vote yes on everything? But we need to stand up and what the Word says. And I'm tell you something. If they don't, I live in the state of Kentucky, and listen, and our economy was based on nothing but coal, and we had one of the best economies in the state, in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is, when Obama run, he said he was going to do away with fossil fuel and tear down that power plant and down there at Ashland. And the UMWA and the coal miners backed that, and they eat their nose off, spite their face.
Mm.
And listen, we need to open up, and they don't think Lala Harris will do away with the union and take their jobs and put AI in their place. Honey, they're baby food. They better wake up and realize. But the Christians better wake up, man. Hey, and realize this, man. We're living in fearless times. And listen, we need to do something. And Christian people are to stand up for God. I just can't figure it out why they say Christians aren't out politics. Yeah. I'm going to tell you something. We better wake up.
Amen. We do need to wake up, Ray, and thank you so much for your call here today. And I'd encourage people, listeners, if you missed the program Monday with Bill Federer, Silence Equals Consent. It's a worth listening to broadcast. Thanks for the call. Diane in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, you're on the air.
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment. Someone came to my door, and obviously in the pamphlet it said, I'm for women's rights, and of course we know what that is. And then instead of just talking against, I said something, and the reason I said it this way, you might guess after I'm done. I said, oh, sir, I am so delighted that you're for women's rights. That means you only kill the boy babies. Is that correct? And he could say nothing. And I said, sir, answer this, please. Is that he was for? And I said, do you know what you're talking about? And then I'm medical, so I went at him with the truth of the abortion, sir.
Mm.
But he could say nothing to me.
Yeah.
Nothing. He stopped. And I'm saying this loud and clear, and I hope someone else will use this. It might make that person think what really happens. They killed all babies, including women's rights babies. So
Thank you.
That's my...
Thank you for the comment here today. And friends, the truth is, every time an abortion happens, a baby is killed. Are you okay with that, friend? Every time there's an abortion, a baby is killed. I hope you think about that. We've run out of time, and we apologize to other people on hold here. Friends, critical days that are before us, and indeed, we do have that stewardship. What a privilege we have as citizens to have that opportunity to vote. Friends, don't squander that opportunity. Don't squander that stewardship. Thanks for listening today. Hey, the Lord's Day is coming. Trust you'll be in a Bible-believing, Bible-teaching local church. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Tape Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208. Or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.